This is not some street fight. Historic medieval fencing is a young and harsh sport. Tough, dynamic, and spectacular battles. These are competitions for tough people. And you can see and meet these knights all over Ukraine. We spoke to the modern medieval fencers who do everything our ancestors did, from manufacturing weapons to fighting duels and conquering the hearts of young ladies. This sport, like any other, certainly involves some risk. People fight with heavy swords and axes, but with blunted blades. I think that our sport cannot be compared to anything else, as there's no other sport where you can get such an adrenaline rush and so many positive emotions. Historic medieval fencing is a contact sport in armor. Medieval-style battles have recently gained popularity among young people because it's impressive, stylish, and young people find it to their liking. At the sport's roots, there are historians, fans of historical literature, fantasy lover, and even psychologists. They took part in role-playing games. This movement was spread around the world with the help of enthusiasts. When there was no information technology, everything was spread by word of mouth. It has developed in its own way around the world. It's not bound to a certain country, but it has since grown into a large movement that has divided into several categories. There are reenactors, there are role players, and then there are athletes.
Есть реконструкторы, есть ролевики и есть спортсмены. Как оно появилось в Украине, ну так же, как и во всем мире.
Fans of history, fantasy lovers. The Dovzhenko Film Studio has contributed a lot. There were enthusiasts who played in historical movies who later started role-playing in the woods.
И со временем они начали проводить игры в лесах либо на полигонах. Люди объединялись в компании.
People got together in groups, then clubs and teams, later in organizations and federations. Thus, there became more and more of us every year. In those days, fights were more scripted. There was no full contact, only fencing.
То есть там было фехтование на удар-контроль.
I wanted to start doing some kind of sports, but the gym is boring. I could have started boxing or karate, but that didn't appeal to me enough either. This, on the other hand, is exciting. It involves a lot of traveling. We traveled all around Ukraine this summer.
Очень много путешествий. Мы все лето ездили, путешествовали в Украине, за территорией Украины.
Я раньше занимался там некоторыми видами спорта.
I did karate before, but I left because I didn't like it. And then I saw knights fight at the Kievan Rus Park and realized that I wanted to be one of them.
И захотел стать одним из них.
В историческом фехтовании очень много категорий, так как и в других единоборствах.
Historical fencing has many categories. There are duels, there are 5-on-5 fights, and 21-on-21 fights. Duels fall into the category of sword and board, dual swords, sword and buckler, long sword, halberd, and contact fights, one-on-one in a cage.
Бои один на один в клетке наподобие М1. Тренировки у ребят.
The training is pretty difficult because they have to wear suits of armor that weigh approximately 30 kilograms.
У нас каждый выбирает то, чем будет заниматься.
Everyone can choose what they want to do. Some fight in duels, others want to take part in group battles. Each category has its own training regimen.
Ребят, которые дерутся в одиночных поединках.
Those who fight in duels mostly train coordination, speed, and agility. And those who fight in a group pay more attention to strength and endurance. And then there are general fighters who take part in all competitions.
Есть бойцы
They are
универсалы,
experienced
которые...
and in good shape.
Но это ребята, которые имеют богатый опыт и хорошее здоровье.
За тот год, который я здесь уже занимаюсь, наверное, главное, чему я научился, это...
In the year that I've been going here, the most important thing I've learned is not to give up. Fights can be very lengthy, difficult, and just exhausting. You can lose a few kilograms on a hot day, and you can't just give up because that would mean letting down your whole team.
А ты не можешь сдаться, ты не можешь просто взять, бросить меч и сказать: все, я пошел домой, мне надоело, потому что за тобой твоя команда.
В массовых номинациях прежде всего важна команда, поэтому...
In mass categories, the team is especially important because there has to be cooperation between different people. And in single categories, everything depends on one person and the result is solely theirs.
И тут уже только его результат.
Поначалу, так как я самый младший в коллективе, то есть...
Since I'm the youngest on the team, it was difficult to fight people who are bigger, heavier, and older than me. I've been doing this for about a year. I think I've become stronger both physically and morally, and I've matured spiritually. I've become less susceptible to cold and pain. I think that the sport has made a positive impact on me.
Я считаю, что этот спорт только позитивно на меня влияет.
Здесь нету такой привязки, что ты должен.
There are no obligations. You don't have to attend some school or club. You always have a choice.
Клуб любителей, которые будут этим заниматься. Естественно,
You can organize a club of like-minded people, but of course, there are schools with rich experience, and you can achieve greater success with the specialized school. The major centers are in Kiev, Kharkiv, Odessa, Lviv, Dnipro, and Zaporizhia. There was also one in Donetsk. They had to move, but they still practice. There are clubs and teams even in small towns.
Даже в маленьких ПГТ, то есть клубы, команды, которые занимаются данным направлением.
We fight with authentic but blunted weapons from the 13th, 14th, and 15th centuries. The armor weighs about 30 kilograms. So this is not a complete reconstruction, rather a stylization. We use all the equipment that was used in those days, just blunted. Many events take place in Ukraine. The biggest are held in the Kievan Rus Park, the Call of Heroes, which happens twice a year, and the Championships of Ukraine, and then the World Championships. People who come from abroad buy armor in Ukraine because it's several times cheaper and of the same quality as in Europe.
Каждый год в разных странах проводится.
The championship is held in a different country every year, but I want to brag a bit that the Ukrainians were the founders of the championship. The World Championship was held for 2 consecutive years in Khotin, and then it began to travel around the world.
По всему миру.
Первое мое соревнование получилось, что...
My first competition happened to be in Ukraine, the spring edition of Call of Heroes. It was very unusual, maybe a bit frightening, but mostly something unusual. We trained in special softer armor, which is lighter. But there, you put on that 30 kilograms of armor and you start running around and you realize you also got on a helmet. You can barely see out of it. You fall down, you get back up, and you start to learn to adapt to the situation on the go.
К этой всей ситуации.
My first competition was the night of the Kiev Citadel. I had just started training at the time, and I immediately felt the whole charm of historical medieval battles. Trips abroad, when we fight other teams, are also very interesting. We went to the World Championship, where there were 35 teams from around the world. It was interesting to see how other countries had developed.
Бои выглядят довольно-таки грозно, но он не такой травмоопасный, как кажется.
The fights look really dangerous, but they're not as traumatic as they might seem. Exhaustion plays a big role. Otherwise, the fighters are protected with 30 kilograms of armor. This sport will continue developing, and it surely has to find its niche, because history is important. We must not forget it. People who are into this sport study history apart from the fighting. Even those who didn't like it at school, they still learn something new, whether they like it or not, because they visit so many cities and castles around Ukraine and beyond.
Потому что они ездят по всем городам, замкам Украины, мира.